Have you ever been in a corporate training session, looked at the clock, and just felt your soul quietly leaving your body? Yeah, if you've ever thought, well, that's a few hours I am never ever getting back, you are in very good company. Today, we are going to dive into why so much of that training feels like a total waste of time, and more importantly, lay out a playbook for how to turn it from a drag into a real engine for growth. I mean, this quote just hits different, doesn't it? A financial black hole. That perfectly captures that sinking feeling so many leaders and employees have. You see all this money, all this time just getting sucked into these programs, and then nothing. Crickets. That's the exact problem we are going to unpack and solve today. So, first things first, let's really get our hands around this black hole problem. Because, it's not just some vague feeling that time was wasted. It's a real, tangible issue that can seriously stunt a company's growth. Okay, so here's the thing. The issue isn't that companies aren't trying or that they're not spending money. They are. They pour billions into learning and development every year. The real culprit? A total lack of measurement. When you don't actually check to see if the training worked, the bad, ineffective stuff just keeps going year after year, turning that huge investment into a giant, expensive mistake. Right, so if we're throwing all this cash at the problem and not getting the results we want, what is going on? Well, it usually boils down to a couple of fundamental flaws in how we think about and design training from the very start. Let me ask you this, and be honest. How good are you at your job? Are you an above average driver? If you're like pretty much everyone else, you probably rated yourself, a little better than average. But what if that gut feeling is just plain wrong? This brings us to the first huge flaw in how we even figure out what training people need. And here we have it. This is the core of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Basically, we humans are wired for a little bit of overconfidence. We tend to think we're better at things than we actually are, and that makes it almost impossible to see our own weak spots. So when you base training on what people think they need to learn, you're often missing the mark entirely.
Now for the second big flaw, and this one is a whopper. We're talking about the multi-billion-dollar industry built on the complete myth of learning styles. You've heard this a million times. Oh, I'm a visual learner, or I'm more of an auditory learner. It feels right, it sounds smart, but the scientific evidence is crystal clear. It's not real. There's zero credible proof it works. In reality, we all learn best when we get information in multiple ways, not just one supposed style. So, if learning styles are out, what's in? The answer is something called Universal Design for Learning, or UDL. Instead of trying to put people into these imaginary boxes, UDL is all about building flexibility into the learning from the ground up. It means you offer multiple ways for people to see the material, multiple ways for them to show what they know, and multiple ways to stay engaged. It's about accessibility for everyone, not catering to a myth. Okay, so we've looked at the problem. Now let's start talking solutions. It all begins with a really simple but incredibly powerful shift in what we're actually trying to teach in the first place. This is the absolute key. We have to move away from these massive information dumps. The single most important question you can ask when designing training is this: what will people be able to physically do differently the second the session is over? The entire focus has to shift from just knowing information to being able to apply a skill. All right, so once we know the specific skill we're targeting, the very next question has to be how. How do we deliver that training in a way that actually works for a modern, busy, and, let's face it, distracted workforce? I mean, let's be real. Who has the time or the attention span for an 8-hour all-day workshop anymore? No one. That's where microlearning is a total game changer. Think of it like short, sharp, targeted bursts of information that help you solve a specific problem right in the moment you need it. It respects people's time and lets them learn on their own terms. And a fantastic example of this kind of just-in-time learning is the humble job aid. This could be a simple checklist, a quick flowchart, a cheat sheet, whatever. And get this, data from the US Coast Guard shows you can create them and train people to use them 3 to 4 times faster than with traditional training. It's all about giving support right when and where the work actually happens. Of course, for a new skill to actually stick, you need to practice it. You can't just read about it. And that is where scenario-based learning is so powerful. It's basically like a flight simulator for your job. It drops you into a realistic but safe situation and forces you to apply what you've just learned. It makes the training feel super relevant, which helps you remember it way better.
But hey, not everything can be learned alone at your desk. Sometimes you've got to get people in a room together. But that brings up a really critical question. When should you just be presenting information, and when should you be facilitating a conversation to solve a problem? They are two very, very different things. And this little checklist here is a lifesaver for figuring that out. Here's the bottom line. If the decision is already made and you're just announcing it for the love of all that is good, do not pretend to facilitate. That just makes people mad. But if you actually need the group's input, if you need their buy-in to make something happen, then facilitation is absolutely the way to go. It's for building solutions together, not just for talking at people. Okay, we've got the what and we've got the how. Now for the final and maybe most important piece of this whole puzzle, the proof. How do we actually prove that the training made a difference and, make sure it all doesn't just evaporate a week later? First, let's talk about what not to do. It is time, once and for all, to get rid of the smile sheets. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Those happy face surveys at the end of a session, they are terrible at measuring if anyone learned anything. All they really tell you is whether the instructor was funny or if the free lunch was good. We have to go deeper. For learning to really take hold, feedback has to be amazing. So what does amazing feedback look like? Well, it doesn't just say correct or incorrect. Truly helpful, actionable feedback gives you concrete strategies for how to do better. It shows you exactly what good looks like, where you are now, and helps you see how you're closing that gap over time. It's a tool for growth, not a report card. So here's where the rubber really meets the road. How do you make sure all this great learning actually gets used back on the job? You need an action plan. Having every single person answer these questions right at the end of a training session creates instant accountability. It forces them to build a bridge from the classroom to their daily work and to think about what success actually looks like. This quote just ties it all together so perfectly. It's a powerful call to action to stop wasting time and money on myths and pseudoscience. All that energy we've spent on things like learning styles could be put to so much better use on strategies that are actually proven to work. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. I want you to take a good, hard look at the training happening in your own organization. Is it a black hole where time and money just disappear? Or is it a genuine engine for growth, making your people and your business better? Because with these principles, you now know how to build the engine. The choice is yours.